Hello, sports fans. We've got a Super Bowl preview, NFL coaching news, NBA trade madness, and a special dipshit of the week. Welcome back. It is My Brother's an Idiot. Yes, it's that podcast full of goodery, shenanigans, and chicanery, and we are damn glad that you are here. Welcome. My name is Matt. I'm the king of the goons. Let me kick you around the rest of the squad. First and foremost, my co-brother-in-law, holding down the fort in the extreme Southern Command. Tank, what is up, my brother?
Hi, everybody. Not much. I made pesto tonight. It was really good.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Pesto. Love some basil and pine nuts. It's always a good time.
You love nuts.
Hey, shut up. I haven't gone to you yet.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. Next,
Very good
and
hiding spot.
certainly not least, the man we've named the podcast after. He is the Kaiser, the Guldagoon. Yes, he's an idiot. Allow me to introduce my brother, the idiot, Mark Goon.
And my dog is high as fuck right now.
That's so good.
Holy buckets.
The pooch
I
cracked
took
into the vitamins.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Keep out of reach of children is also for dogs.
Well, I think she will have learned a lesson after today.
No, he probably has not. 2 weeks ago, I made the mistake of leaving some hamburger precariously close to the edge of the counter, and Rocky got my burger, and so I made Sarah a burger, and then I had to have leftovers. So just one of those things. Tank, where'd you go? What the hell happened? What's going on?
My
here?
camera, for some reason, just glitched out, but we're good again.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
that
we're
was
good.
wild.
That was wild. All right. Gentlemen, damn good to see you. Let's move on, shall we?
Sounds good.
Brilliant.
Okay.
All right. So, okay.
Okay.
It's fine. All right. We are in the second half of the quarterfinals of the worst mascots in the NBA. And in keeping with the theme, these two that are up first are actually kind of related. You remember last week we had two that were related in terms of geography and two that were just stupid because they're just dumb.
They're all dumb.
They're all dumb. In the first matchup of the second half of the quarters, we've got the Pistons and the Pacers. Yes, the car parts versus the cars. Mark, starting with you, which is worse?
Okay, so I'm going to come at this from a different angle a little bit. So Pistons, yeah, we'll say that they're car parts that can't do anything on their own. They're just like little metal things that just kind of sit there without oil and, flame and such. Now, Pacers, that doesn't necessarily mean a pace car per se. It also could be our lovely mother who meanders all over the place. She is a pacer.
Yeah, I'm not buying that. It's pace car.
But it could be a pacer, like,
it's not. It's
pacing
not.
around in circles.
They're in Indianapolis, dude, where they have that giant race.
I guess a car that's moving is better than just pieces of a car that's just broken. So I'm gonna say the worst is gonna be the Piston.
The Pistons. All right. Mark has voted for the car part rather than the whole car. Tank, what say you?
Okay, so can I take their mascot into consideration?
Sure.
Because the Pistons mascot is a horse.
What's the Pacers mascot?
I believe it's a bird.
I think you're right. I think it is a bird.
It's a bird. I think, yeah.
So
that's for a very specific reason.
It is.
Right.
Both of those are for specific reasons, both of which are
Correct.
stupid, but
Yeah.
specific reasons. So in bird versus horse, I'm going to go horse as the winner. So I'm going to put the Pacers into the next round.
So we've got 1-1 Pistons versus Pacers. gonna leave this up to me? Seriously?
Yeah,
yeah.
we are. That's what happens.
That's
Yeah,
how
I know.
this matchup
It's
is.
not. It's not usually how it happens. Usually, we're all aligned.
Right. Yeah. Our brains are all usually in the same spot. In this
Right.
one, we're very off.
Oh my god. Okay, so Pistons.
Hey Matt, what you drinking?
That is Sierra Nevada Torpedo IPA.
Extra
IPA.
I
Yes,
haven't had those
extra
in a
IPA.
while.
Yes, and they're rebranding. They're not changing the recipe at all, but they're rebranding, and the new can has like a sonar looking background to it. It's actually pretty cool.
Is it
So,
still going to be
get-
the same name?
Yeah, they're just
So
changing the
getting rid of the-
imagery.
getting rid of the green label and changing it to update
Still
past
green.
1973.
Still
I like
green.
that
They're
old
just
school label.
getting rid of the banner name on it. And
Yeah.
if I still had the can, I would show you. Next up is Sierra Nevada hazy little thing. That's
Some hazy
on deck.
IPA.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
next up.
Yeah, but we know how that one tastes because
Oh, yeah.
that one's been around for a little while.
Been around for a while. Yep. Coming in all locations at Old Chicago starting in May. There you go.
That's not a bad contract.
Right?
One more thing I have to say about extra pale, extra torpedo, whatever, that at least they're not going new Coke like Fat Tire.
You know, that's a whole other podcast, but I actually enjoy the new liquid and I get why they did it. So
No, I get it too, and people actually enjoy it. We've flying through Fat Tire now.
all right, good.
So it's just
I have
There you
not
go.
had it since the recipe change. Actually,
well,
Yeah,
it
it just
like
changed.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, they were actually starting to blend kegs in early January, and it is finally now in your location. It's in the full recipe. It's a blonde ale. It's good.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
I'll have to give it a shot.
Yeah, it's good. So if you break it down to it, a car could run you over. I guess I could throw a piston at your head. I'm going to go with the Pistons being the better of the two. The Pacers now move on. How's that?
All right.
All right.
Your
That sounds the
logic
opposite
is-
of.
Yeah. The car
What?
can run you over.
Yeah, the
But
car can
listen-
run you over. So
Yeah.
the Pistons move on. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Too many
now we get
P's. Too many P words in that sentence.
it. Papa picked a pack of pickled poffles.
Yep. How many pickle peppers did Peter Poffel pick? Is there a Peter Poffel somewhere? I'm sure there is. All right.
There's gotta be. There's not. There should be.
There may not be because there's only like 37 of us. So who
Yeah,
knows?
there ain't many. And less this year than there were last year, actually.
Correct.
I wish there was.
I
a
am no
Peter
longer
Poffel.
a poffle.
All right, moving on to the next matchup and the final matchup of the quarters. I have a feeling I know which way this is going to go, but we've got a team in the Eastern Conference, a team in the Western Conference. We have the Spurs and the Celtics. Yes, we have horse implement and mispronounced Irish tribe. Tank, starting with you. What do you think?
I mean, one of them is capable of acting on its own, even though it's the wrong name. So I'm going to say the Spurs move on because that's just stupid.
All right. He votes for Spurs. Mark, what do you got?
The Celtics are imaginary because it's not a real thing. Spurs are a real thing, and if you jab one into your side, ask a horse, jab one into your side. It doesn't feel very good. So I'm going to say the worst of the two is the imaginary thing.
You're leaving it up to me again.
I think that was
Hell yeah,
intentional.
I actually did that
Hell
on
yeah.
purpose.
Oh, did you? Okay.
100%.
Justified it on the fly. I
Yeah.
actually had predetermined my call, and it's going to be, I think the Celtics are stupid because it's the Celtics, not
Right.
the Celtics.
It's not a fucking thing.
It's not a thing. It's not real. You didn't say it right. They're
Right.
in Boston. They should know better.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Poffel's not Irish, but guess what?
There's some Irish in us.
There's some Irish in us. So
Knox actually is Irish.
there you go. We made fun last week of the Spurs and cha-ching, 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 and the guy playing the piano and kicking open the saloon door. And
yeah, that was fun.
It was fun. But Celtics not being the Celtics, it's just stupid. Who is yelling at us? Who is that? That's got to be Papa Mac.
Yeah, that's bad.
I'm assuming so.
Guess what? It's coming next. Simmer down.
We're talking about sports.
Yeah, this is all sports, Big Timber. Calm down. All right? We'll get there.
I forgot our new producer is there.
My man himself, yes.
Right. All right, so the Pistons and the Celtics move on. I'm just going to call them the Celtics the rest of the season. This is going to be great.
I've been calling them the Celtics for 20 years.
Right, there you go. All right, so they move on. We get into the semis next week. We'll cover both semifinal matchups. Oh, good night. Get over yourself.
Jesus
Just wait till we get into section 5 of the agenda. You're going to want to turn us off, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Just keep away from the French ticklers.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. Guess what? Pink Ladies is not a mascot in the NBA. Thank God.
No.
All right.
Right.
So let's talk about football here, guys. And I don't know if you know or not, but there is a fairly big game coming up this weekend. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I've lived under a rock. Tell me about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Super Bowl is coming. Guess what? Sunday. It's the Eagles and the Chiefs. We're going to break down the game, break down a couple of individual matchups, and then this is where we'll also do our degeneracy and talk about a couple of bets, because who doesn't bet on the Super Bowl? I'm not going to say it, Mama. I'm not going to say it. Not going to say it. I don't care what you say. I'm not going to say it. For those of
Sarah's
you
husband.
Yeah, for those of you listening at home and are not currently watching the live stream, Mama Sue, the mother-in-law of both of the other idiots, is asking me to say something to relate to the victory of the team in Kansas City, and I will not do that. So good luck getting me to say that. The only time, I'll give you this, the only time I will say go Chiefs is...
you just did! Yes!
No, but the only time I will say it and mean it...
You just said it!
But the only time I'll say it is if the Chiefs and the Raiders are playing in the AFC Championship game. And then I will root for that other team. I will not. And the hierarchy of teams I hate the worst and hate the most, it's Raiders, then Chiefs. So that's the only time that's going to come out of my mouth.
What if it was Dallas versus Kansas City in the Super Bowl?
Nope. Don't care. One, it'll never happen.
I mean, you got a good point.
I'm super worried about that.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that at all. Come on.
It's a major hypothetical for sure.
A huge hypothetical. The Cowboys making the Super Bowl. The Cowboys making the NFC Championship game is a pipe dream right now.
It'll be 2073.
Yeah.
2073.
I mean, they haven't been to a Super Bowl in 28 years. So whatever.
95. Yeah. Geez.
Long enough.
Wow.
Yeah, long enough.
Long enough.
Yep. It's been a long time.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
How about them boys? All right. So with a quick breakdown of the game and carrying your most intriguing story, Mark, I'll start with you. How do you see this one going? And what are you looking forward to in terms of Cowboys winning Pop Warner football? Hey, you know what? That's an insult to Pop Warner football. Shut up. Mark, how do you see
that's Mac with the Tom Landry thing?
Yeah.
Tom Landry is an American hero.
I got something for this. I got something for this.
I don't believe Tom Landry will be returning to coaching.
There are a few impressions that I do very well, and Hank Hill is one of them. Tom Landry is a great American hero. Butane is a bastard gas.
Bobby, put down that magazine.
Damn it, Bobby, put that head down. No son of mine. No son of mine is going to play that girl sport soccer.
I don't know you. That's my purse.
Damn it, Dale. I sell propane and propane accessories.
Oh, my God. It took us all of 15 minutes to devolve several times already.
roughly 3 minutes in when we got into a conversation about beer.
That's true.
Well, it was topical because I was drinking beer.
That is true.
Yeah.
All right, so Mark, break the game down, and what's the most interesting storyline that you can see coming out of the game?
Yes, so let's start with the best two teams in football. It actually came to fruition that we are actually getting the best two teams from the regular season in the game. We are talking about the Eagles, who were the best team all year in football, and Kansas City Chiefs, who are everyone's darlings from a couple of years ago. This year, you can really see the East Coast bias in the Joe's betting right now. Which is hilarious to me, the way that things are going as far as the betting is concerned. We will talk about that in a little bit. Interesting storylines. Obviously, we're talking about the podcast bowl, the Kelsey brothers facing off against each other, even though they will never actually be on the field at the same time. That's an intriguing matchup. We also have Andy Reid versus his old team, which is a fantastic storyline as well. I think the most interesting story about this is obviously going to be what happens with Patty Mahomes and his quote-unquote ankle. Will it be good? Will it be fine? Will it be great? Is he going to have the whole world on a plate? You'll hear my prediction when we get to the bets.
Very good. Tank, what do you got?
For me, the most intriguing matchup is actually the defensive line matchups. Both have traditionally good offensive lines. I'd say top 5 at this point for the two teams. But as much crap as we give Kansas City for not having a defense, which they don't a lot of the time, they have a very good defensive line that gets a lot of pressure, and when they get in a flow can get sacks. And obviously the Eagles defensive line speaks for itself. They are one of the most dominant defensive lines we've seen in a while. And I think that's going to be the big thing. Can the quarterbacks be kept clean in this game, or is the defensive line going to take over?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think the most intriguing matchup for me is going to be what happens between the Eagles defense and how they can contain Kelsey. And if they can do that and they can take that weapon away, how does Kansas City react? Because they don't have another massive stud on defense. Kelsey is the stir that straws the drink for that offense. In years past, it's been the Kelsey and Tyreek Hill combo, and you just didn't know who you could cover. And if you couldn't make Patrick Mahomes make a decision early and get pressure on him early, then you were dead in the water. And that's what Cincinnati was able to do in the game last year. Was they were able to take that decision making away later on in the play and make him throw the ball early, because that's what he's really good at. I mean, let's be honest. Patrick Mahomes, in terms of his ability to recognize a play, his vision of the field, and his decision making is second to none, and maybe second to none of anyone we've ever seen, especially his ability to throw off of any platform. But if you take his late decisions away and make him get off early in his reads, then you've got a chance. So if they can take Kelsey away and take their chances with the Jujus and the MVSs of the world, they've got a chance. And I think that's the most intriguing matchup for me. That's where I'm going. So
yeah, I would tend to agree with that. You're not wrong, especially when it comes to weapons specifically for Patrick. I would say the sudden surge from Pacheco has been good for them, and I'm wondering if they're going to try and lean on him, especially early.
I will talk more about Isaiah Pacheco coming when we talk about degeneracy for sure. He definitely could be a wild card. let's move on. And we're talking about Mahomes. Let's talk about the battle of Jalen and Patrick Mahomes. So the quarterbacks, you've got basically 1 and 1A in terms of the MVP race. Patrick Mahomes, like to Mark's point, he brought it up a little bit earlier, is dinged up. He has a high ankle sprain. That's not something you come back from and be 100% right away. Tank, I'll start with you here. How do you see the matchup of the two quarterbacks going into the game?
Well, and what you said is, correct with Patty being injured on the ankle sprain, but who's to say that Jalen's 100%? He still has the shoulder issue, and if they start hitting him, that could become problematic very quickly.
I mean, he looked pretty good the last game, and Patrick didn't.
True.
Patrick looked okay.
Looked okay, but
Patrick looked hobbled. He looked okay, but he looked hobbled. I didn't see anything in Jalen's game that made me think that he was hurt at all. Patrick looked like he was hurt.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like he was hurt, but he was still throwing the ball around the yard, making decent decisions enough to win the game. It's not like he played terribly.
What's more important, taking away Jalen's arm or taking away Patrick's feet? What's more detrimental to their specific ability to play?
I think Patrick's feet are supremely important to how he plays.
I completely agree with you. And Jalen's arm, I think that's what Kansas City is going to have the most trouble with is, they need to be able to contain his outlets and that kind of thing. And if they can actually get some good pressure on him early, I think you could knock him off of his game. And then he's going to have to rely on his legs because you're going to be press covering the receivers the entire time. I don't know. It's a very intriguing matchup for sure.
At the end of the year, nobody's completely healthy, right? Everyone's got dings, everyone's got bruises, everyone's got bumps, everyone's got scratches. Some of them are more detrimental than others.
They have boo-boos?
They all have booboos.
They got boo-boos.
It's an incredibly violent sport, as we've talked about ad nauseum over the years in this podcast. And I think when you're talking about the quarterbacks, you also have to talk about the weapons. And I think if you take Kansas City's weapons from Juju to MBS and Isaiah Pacheco and then Travis Kelce, and then you add in, or you compare that to what the Eagles are dealing with, and they've got A.J. Brown, they've got Devontae, they've got Goddard, and a stable of running backs that are awfully good. Boy, that's tough, right? Who knows really, because you've got a future Hall of Famer as a tight end. You've got a Heisman Trophy winner and an outstanding receiver in Devontae. You've got A.J. Brown, who could be a number one anywhere else. Where does that all line up? How do you measure those against each other? And I think the edge kind of goes to the Eagles, because I think with the two outside threats and a good tight end instead of a outstanding tight end and a couple of good outside threats, I'm leaning towards the Eagles here, guys.
I would say overall, you're probably correct on just weapons. Jalen's probably the best running back in this game, and that's not a slight at him. He is a great quarterback, but he's probably the best pure runner in this game.
Agreed.
And I'd actually, weirdly enough, I'd put Pacheco behind him over Sanders and Scott and all them they have over in the Eagles. But I think the biggest advantage that the Eagles have is they have the best offensive line. I
would agree with that as well.
Yeah, the game is won in the trenches for sure.
And I think the only way that Kansas City can win this game is they not only have to outscore them, but they have to somehow get pressure on Jalen.
Correct.
They have to slow him down and keep him in the backfield.
Also, interesting to note, in case you didn't think I did research, Kansas City is the highest percentage of any defense in press coverage this year. I definitely think that tends to favor Kansas City's style and what they have to do with Jalen, just knocking the receivers off the ball and all that stuff. But we'll see how that affects the game in the long run.
But they're out. Is the Jarius Sneed? Isn't he out for this game, or not at 100% at least?
That I do not know.
I believe if you take him out of it, that's a big miss for the secondary.
You know what? I will take those two receivers in press coverage every day of the week.
For the most part.
Especially the way the game is called now and the way the rules are slanted.
They can do a lot of stuff in the first 5 yards, though.
Yeah, they can to an extent. Not as much as they used to, right? It's not even the way it was 10 years ago, let alone last year, right? There's all kinds of things that could happen. To your point, Mark, I think you're right there, but it's not as a big hurdle as it would have been in Super Bowl 50 as it is in, this current year.
Well, and if they have someone that can play bully ball with Devontae, though, that's going to be the way to slow him down and just beat him up every single time.
I don't think they have that guy, though. They don't have that guy.
Listen, if you can give your pass rushers an extra half a second to get to Jalen, that might be all you need. And so that press coverage is going to be giant just to knock them off of their routes for a quick minute. So he has to go to his second or third read.
Well, that brings us to our next point. So in terms of what's going to happen, who's going to do what, and how they're going to do it, you've got a good battle of head coaches here. You've got Nick Sirianni, who's a fantastic head coach, has done amazing things. You've got the old vet, Andy Reid, who has been to a Super Bowl with the same team he's playing, has won one and been to one, and now is in his third Super Bowl with Kansas City. Mark, I'll start with you. How do you see the matchup of the head coaches playing out?
I got distracted. It sounded like you were speaking through a box of Cocoa Pebbles. It was like, anyways. The matchup of the coaches obviously leans towards Andy Reid and the experience on the coaching end on his side. Nick Sirianni is a great coach. He just hasn't been there long enough to say that he's got the talk and the walk. This is his second year with the program. I'm not saying that Nick Sirianni is a bad coach. Obviously, he's in the Super Bowl with this team with a lot of players that people thought were either A, washed up like A.J. Brown was before he got to Philly, or B, not really never was like Jalen Hurts, and he's made them, perennial all-stars again. I just think that Andy Reid, with the experience, like you said, 3 Kansas City Super Bowls, won one, and then he also has the experience with Philly. The lights are not going to be as bright for him as they are for Nick Sirianni. Now, I'm not saying that Nick Sirianni is going to have a bad time, but the experience definitely favors a man who's been there, seen what works, seen what doesn't work, and can make adjustments on the fly. And nobody adjusts better than Kansas City with Andy Reid.
What's your take?
Kind of similar. I mean, I think undoubtedly, I'm not going to say he's the greatest coach of all time, but Andy Reid seems to be the greatest offensive coach ever at this point. It's hard to deny that with what he's done on offense for multiple teams. It's hard to say that he is not a dynamic and aggressive offensive coach that is right more than wrong very often. And I think you're right. And the Sirianni has done amazing things with a team that everyone 2 years ago thought was going to be just collapsing. And
except for Milty.
Last year. He was
That's what I'm saying.
Off.
2 years ago. 2 years ago. He picked him to be in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. He was the only one.
It's impressive what Sirianni has done with that team in just 2 years.
Completely agree. The other,
but if
go ahead.
We're going coach against coach. I'm going to trust Andy Reid until someone proves him wrong.
Yeah, I would agree with both of you here. Andy Reid, obviously, with Mark's point with the experience has been there before multiple times. The lights aren't going to be too bright, to use Mark's phrase. First time head coaches in the Super Bowl. It's going to be interesting to say the least. There's a ton of distraction. There's, how do you manage practices? How do you manage the distraction? How do you manage media day? How do you manage, making sure people don't do anything stupid? I mean, it's Thursday and someone's going to do something dumb. It's going to happen on one of the two teams. And we may have already seen it with the arrest of that reserve offensive lineman on Philly. But I think something's coming. There's always they call it what do they call it in politics? The weekend surprise before an election. There may be, a Friday or Saturday surprise that there's certainly going to be something that comes out because someone's always digging for something to push their own narrative. So, but I agree that I think Andy Reid is
5 o'clock drop.
Yeah, right. Get into that news cycle, right? Andy Reid is obviously the more experienced, has the better track record. He also has the benefit of having a lot of great talent on his team, so that also has a lot to do with it. I mean, what did Mike Shanahan do in Washington? Not much. What did he do when he had Washington? What did he do when he was in Denver with Hall of Fame players all over his roster? Well, he won 2 Super Bowls. So that also, I think, plays into it a little bit. However, he's the coach. Ghost of Sarah just walked by. That's awesome. However, he's been there, done that, and there's something to be said for having experienced the nonsense that surrounds the Super Bowl. And it's everything that goes into it, like I said, from media day to all the practice bullshit and having to keep your guys in hotels and, they're there for a week and a half, whatever it is. So I definitely think the nod goes to Andy Reid here. All right, moving on. Let's break down who we think is going to win. Bet the game and give me a prop bet, gentlemen. Tank, I will start with you because I'm sure Mark needs to think about it for a little bit.
Okay.
Oh, you're ready? You're ready? Really?
I got them saved on my phone again.
All right, go ahead, Tank.
This is essentially, slightly more than a coin flip. It's a 1.5 is what I have on it. With the KC being dogs, which that is not something you see frequently. I'm wondering how much of that is money coming in, pushing that Eagles, that Eagles narrative. I'm going to take KC. I'm going to take the over because I think this is going to turn into a shootout late game.
I have 50.5. That's a ton of points.
Between these two teams, that's not.
No.
And I'm going to go 2 anytime touchdown scorers. I think one of them is going to be Kelsey. I think he gets one. I think it's going to be impossible to contain him all game, and he's going to get one. And the other one, even though it's going to a different player, I think it will be the other Kelsey scoring with his, hold the ball center back play with Jalen kind of riding his tail into the end zone. So I think it's going to be Jalen getting a sneak and Kelsey getting one also.
All right. Tank has the Chiefs winning. Are you going on the money line or are you taking the 1.5?
Oh, I'll do money on that one.
Okay.
It's only plus 104 for me, but.
Yep. There you go. I got 105. So we're right there.
That's what I've got.
Yep. Mark, what do you got?
Along the same lines, a 1.5 is a big number. That's East Coast whale money coming in, all those fans in Philly getting ready to be hammered out of their minds. They're going to go in and bet this game early because, they're already in Phoenix doing all that stuff or just at home and they've got all the money that they're throwing in there. Plus, the New York bettors and all of those people. I think that a lot of the sharps are waiting for that 1.5 to go up to 2 points. I don't know if that is going to happen in the next couple of days, but it has a strong possibility of happening tomorrow. I'm going to take Kansas City outright at 105 on the money line. I would also take, the 1.5 points, but I think that they are going to win the game. I am also going to hammer that over at 50.5 points. That's, 27-27 is basically what we're looking for, and both of these teams can manage 25 points a game. So I think that's not.
27. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. I mean, just if both teams score 4 times, we're looking at a possibility of this happening with the over. My prop bet, 2 of them. One of them is Super Bowl MVP. I'm going to take the long shot and take Travis Kelce.
That'd be wild.
I actually have 3. Sorry. I am taking here's plus 130 on will the opening kickoff be a touchback? Yes or no? I'm going to go ahead and say no at plus 130. So give me the money on that. And then the last one is, you can't bet this anywhere really, but it's always a fun one to do with your friends. The coin flip. Tails.
Interesting.
All time.
Tails never fails.
I think you actually can bet that on FanDuel.
You can in some places. It's not on MGM.
No. But those are my bets, and I actually did those bets at 6:45 this evening.
Well done.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, right before the pod start.
A good hour and 15 minutes.
Hour and 15 minutes before you even got rolling. Good job. All right, so here's where I'm at. I think if you take it all on balance, you've got 2 Hall of Famers on the Kansas City side. You've got a really good team on the Eagles side. The Eagles have been able to contain most teams that they've played all year long. I'm going with the Eagles to win on the money line at minus 125. Give me Isaiah Pacheco to score anytime at plus 140. I think that's an easy one when you get close inside the 5-yard line, and there's a few other things to pay attention to. Then you've got Isaiah Pacheco, who has scored a ton of touchdowns this year, especially in the last half of the season, and has shown that he's really able to sniff out the goal line in a way that we haven't seen in a while. I'm also going tails because tails never fails. Personal anecdote: every time when, as you may or may not know, I coach youth football, and we go out to the coin toss. The speaking captain, who is 12, looks at me and goes, "Coach, what do I do?" Like, it's tails and it's defer, and I don't care which side you take. Doesn't matter. Don't care. Tails and defer, and that's all we do every single time, and we win the coin toss. If we get the chance to call, we win the coin toss more often than not. So that's what I'm going with. Cool.
There we go.
All right, there is your degenerate bets this week. Take those with a grain of salt because we're typically 500 or a little bit less or a little bit more. We definitely don't make anyone any money. MGM, we'd love if you would support us, but whatever, it's fine. I'll still come spend money there in June. How's that?
We'll see you guys soonly out there.
Yeah, MGM. Absolutely. All right, some other news and notes in the NFL. There have been some coaching changes in the names in terms of some defensive coordinators. Looks like Wilkes and Flores have found some places to go. Tank, Brian Flores not coming to Denver.
Yeah, very unfortunate, to be honest. I was really hoping that would happen. But apparently the Vikings made him an offer that
he couldn't refuse.
That was better for him, for whatever reasons. And he will be leading the Vikings, which that's a rebuild on defense because that defense is atrocious. So
they're
best of luck to him on that.
I mean, Brian Flores is one hell of a coach. Definitely didn't deserve the treatment that he got in Miami.
Him and Lovey both got screwed.
Lovey got the shaft, bro. We talked about that.
God.
We talked about that. I mean, you can't do the beard like that. I mean, come on.
Hose job of all hose jobs.
Right. You know that he did the old and I can't remember the name of the guy in Major League, but I'm too old to jump into showers, and we're out of towels, and he just
Lou Brown.
Lou Brown, that's it. He did the old Lou Brown, and like, oh, we're just gonna win the whole fucking thing.
I'm too old to be digging in people's lockers for towels.
Too old to jump in a locker, and we're out of towels.
I don't know. I got somebody on the other line about some white walls.
That's a hell of an idea. Oh, Lovey got the shaft. And then Steve Wilkes, who's the former interim head coach at Carolina, who the Goon Squad all agrees kind of got screwed out of the opportunity to coach that.
Are you
It's
having troubles hearing, Matt?
Can't hear you.
What?
Nope, you dropped out.
You're good now.
I'm good now? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Steve Wilkes, who really did some good things, especially after they traded their best offensive player, Christian McCaffrey, is going to San Francisco. Mark, react.
That was me reacting.
That was Mark. I didn't really read the agenda.
No, I didn't even know that Steve Wilkes got another job. When did that happen?
It is technically not official, just because D'Amico is still with the 49ers officially until next week, I think, something like that. But everything seems to indicate that there already is a contract and a plan for Wilkes to take over as the defensive coordinator.
Interesting.
So,
yeah. When did that all come to fruition?
2 days ago, I believe. Tuesday.
It was easy to miss all the stuff with all the NBA deadline stuff and just not paying attention.
Right.
Yeah, that it was announced on Tuesday, and it was followed up by an announcement from San Francisco saying nothing is official yet. Just kind of covering themselves with the D'Amico Ryan, going to the Texans and all that stuff.
Right.
So
there you go. All right. The next bit of NFL news. They had the introductory press conference at Dove Valley for the Denver Broncos' new head coach. And it didn't come out until, it was a smaller group after the official press conference, and someone asked Sean Payton about personal coaches and offices and teams. And Mark, Sean Payton said, and I quote, "That's foreign to me." And we won't be doing that. React.
I mean, we all knew that. What was the fucking quarterback coach's name? That guy had to be fired anyways because he was doing a terrible job being a quarterback coach. His own personal Russ's quarterback coach. Come on, that guy's got to go no matter what. I think that's a really, really good move, obviously, for him. He definitely wants to keep everything under his own wings and not have people walking all over him like, asshats do, like Jets offensive coordinators that really like Aaron Rodgers, who's currently in a bunker getting fed through a slot. So
4 days of darkness, baby.
I just it's just a no. It seems like a no-brainer to me that you can't bring in you can do whatever you want in the off season, but once it gets to game time and doing stuff with the team, you got to be with the team, or else it's just not going to work for you.
Right. Tank, what do you think?
I would tend to agree. I think this was a necessary move for Sean Payton to kind of step in and say, hey, you can have your own coaching staff, you can have your own entourage, you can have whatever you want, but not in the building. When we get here, I'm the coach, you're the quarterback, and that's how this is going to work. And honestly, that's not abnormal. That is kind of that relationship, and that's the way that it needs to be. The coach needs to know he's in control, and the quarterback needs to know that that's the case, and he gets to run the offense, but that's because of what the head coach says. So,
yeah, I think it's what we all expected was going to happen. We knew that there was some bad feelings around the organization and the way that Russ was treated coming in and the way that the head coach kind of fostered that environment. So it's good to see kind of a switch back to the way it typically is or typically has been, at least the last 5 years notwithstanding. Before we get into quarterback carousel news, gentlemen, I have breaking news. And this truly is breaking news. The 2023 Pro Football Hall of Fame inductees have been announced. Just fresh off the old twit machine, courtesy of Adam Schefter. This is
one missing.
All right.
I haven't seen it.
It just came out. And
Mark,
this is how you do a Hall of Fame. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Rondé Barber, Darrelle Revis, Joe Thomas, DeMarcus Ware. You just Sarah. She loves her some DeMarcus Ware. Can I tell you a story about DeMarcus? He's a good dude. So
can we finish? Hold on. Go back and finish the list.
I'll tell you the story about DeMarcus Ware in a minute. All right, Zach Thomas
for a second.
Zach Thomas, the linebacker. Don Coryell.
That was long deserved.
Yeah, absolutely.
No shit.
Chuck Howley.
Okay.
Old school players, yeah.
Right. Joe Klecko.
Oh.
Giants offensive lineman, I think. Or Jets offensive lineman, right?
Yeah.
And Ken Riley.
So still no Mecklenburg, huh?
That's not gonna happen.
No Randy
Gradishar. Gradishar gets in before Mecklenburg does. Right.
Gradishar has deserved it for 20 years and he's still not there.
Correct.
Yeah, he's still not getting in. So a bunch of years ago on one of our boys' trips to Vegas, you, Mark, were already out there, and my flight was delayed, and DIA was dead, and I was walking around DIA B terminal taking pictures of DeMarcus Ware and texting them to Sarah because he was on the same flight and was delayed.
Oh, I remember that. I do remember because you sent us a couple pictures too.
Yeah, I did. She's like, go talk to him. I'm like, I'm not going to go talk to him. He's with his family. It's just DeMarcus Ware. He's right there. It's like, come on. Like, you wouldn't do it if you were here.
Yeah, 100% she'd chicken out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The only one I've got kind of an issue with, and that's not necessarily an issue, but it's Rondé really a Hall of Famer. He was good for a few years in Tampa. I don't know. That one's a hard one for me, but Darrelle Revis.
Oh yeah, Revis Island.
Revis Island was one of the best. Joe Thomas was a fantastic linebacker.
Joe
Thomas, offensive lineman. I was reading ahead.
Yeah, just played for a shit team.
Zach Thomas was a great linebacker. DeMarcus Ware. Dude's got a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh, just a monster edge rusher for his entire career.
Yeah. Joe Thomas as a left tackle was just spectacular.
Yeah.
And Tank said it. Don Coryell, this has been years in the making. I mean, the guy revolutionized the sport. And as much as we like to make fun of the Chargers, Don Coryell and Dan Fouts, right? Don Coryell and Dan Fouts were seminally involved in changing the fundamental way you look at offense. Was those two together, and Coryell's offense was just
it was a machine.
Absolutely.
Well, especially when you talk about pure vertical passing, just letting it fly.
Right.
Like that was
right.
Such a huge impact on the game.
All right. And before we move on to the quarterback carousel, I do want to share also the first-time eligibles for next year. So these are the guys that are now going to be out of the game for 5 years. So the class of 2024. Julius Peppers. Antonio.
He might get it.
Yep. Antonio Gates.
He should get it.
Yep. Eric Berry. I think Eric Berry's in. I don't think he's in the first go around.
Yeah, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. He's not a first ballot.
He's going to be a Terrell Davis kind of guy where he had such a short window.
Right.
But he was so good in that window.
Right. Brandon Marshall. This is the receiver. I don't think he makes it. He's not in, but he's Haloti Ngata, the old defensive lineman for the Ravens. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he gets in.
That's an
Jamal
iffy one.
Charles. Jamal Charles, I don't think he's in.
No, too short of a
Doug-
window.
Yeah, Doug Baldwin, hell no.
No,
Jordy
Ike
Nelson, hell no.
sorry, sorry, baby. No,
Yeah.
no.
Right.
Oh no, I love Jordy. Yeah, but she's not.
Yeah. Connor Barwin,
No,
Probably
No.
not.
no,
Kyle Williams,
No.
That's a possibility.
Andrew Luck.
Ooh,
No.
yes.
No.
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 Unfortunately, the career was too short.
Yep. Too short, didn't win.
Maybe you're right.
Right.
I don't know.
And he was third.
He doesn't
to
care
last-
either way.
No, he doesn't give a shit. He's like Jake Plummer. He's like, I don't know.
By the way, did you see the pictures of Jake Plummer?
Oh
Yes.
my god, I love it. He looked like
Mushroom
such a
farmer Jake Plummer.
Yeah, the mushroom farmer.
Guy
I
looks
love-
like
I
he's the
love-
roadie for Yes.
I know.
I love that Jake.
He
Plummer has
is the
somehow-
owner of a lonely heart. That's
Him transforming into a hippie mushroom farmer is one of my favorite football
Right.
stories ever. At
So
this
good.
point.
went from quarterback to handball champion to mushroom farmer.
mushroom farmer.
Fucking
Right.
awesome, bro.
I
Like
love it.
that is a story arc.
Talks passionately about
So good.
mushrooms, and
Yep.
it's wild.
So good.
It's so funny.
So good. And I left a name off the list. He was third to last on Schefter's tweet. Sebastian Janikowski.
He
Yeah,
deserves
he's
it.
got to get in. I hate
No.
that. I hate
No.
him, but he's
No,
got to be one of the greatest punters of all time. Unfortunately.
he's not a
He's a
punter.
kicker.
Oh yeah, you're right. But I don't
How
know.
many kickers are in? And here's the problem: is he's a kicker. How many kickers are actually in?
I think
Mort?
5 or
Mort.
6.
No, I think it's like 2.
No, it should be
And
more
and one of those was a guy who probably played multiple positions.
let's see.
here we
We,
go.
we know
Let's-
for sure Morton Anderson went
I think
in
Morton Anderson
as a
in.
kicker.
Yeah, because that's all he was.
Didn't the other Anderson get in also?
Gary? I don't think Gary's in.
I think he is.
Googling.
I'm looking right now. Yeah,
How many kickers are there? Are 4 kickers in the Hall of Fame.
I see more than that.
I see more than that.
I see 14, but a couple of them don't count. Okay, so Morton Anderson,
No,
Yeah.
Jan Stenerud,
Yeah.
Morton Anderud, George
Jordan
Blanda.
Blanda.
Rosa.
He was also a quarterback.
Blanda did a lot of stuff, so he doesn't count. Lou
Yeah.
Groza.
And Luke
Yeah.
Rosa, he also played a bunch of different positions. He was a tackle, a center, and a defensive lineman. I mean, granted, they called him the toe.
Is John Carney really in the NFL in the Hall of Fame? Holy shit,
Who?
he is.
Who?
John Carney from
Who?
the old Chargers kicker.
Oh yeah, he is. Gary
Yeah.
Anderson.
No.
Yeah,
There are 4 kickers in the Hall of Fame. I don't know what you guys are looking at.
I'm looking what it says the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
This makes for great radio. Let me just tell you right now.
Am I getting a wrong list? I think you have the same list I do.
Yeah,
Over
you
there,
and I are
Mark.
looking
Oh,
at the
you guys are looking
same
at-
list.
Are you guys looking like a Hall of Fame of kickers, but they're not?
Yeah,
actually
I'm
in
looking
the
Pro
Hall of Fame?
Football Hall
It's
of Fame. Top kickers in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I'm on Sports Kita. How many kickers are in the NFL Hall of Fame? And it's 4.
Okay, so Jan is in there.
Jan is in.
Morton is in there. Lou Groza is in
Morton's
there.
in. Groza and Blanda.
Blanda.
And Blanda
Okay, so
and
that's why,
Groza
'cause
played
there's a
different.
couple. There's one that's not, or 2 of them that are ineligible currently. Just on, or one of them is ineligible currently because he hasn't had enough time out, but he will be in, and that's
Yeah.
going to be Adam Vinatieri.
Gostkowski. Oh yeah, Vinatieri.
He is definitely
okay,
going in
you
the Hall of
didn't
Fame.
mention his name. I'm just going off the list as you
Yeah.
gave me.
Yeah.
I'm like, none of those
Oh,
other
Oh
guys
no!
are in.
Apparently, none of those guys are not on there. They're just all-time
Yeah.
kickers that are not in the Hall of Fame. That's
Sure,
wild.
all-time kickers that are not in. They're kickers. It's hard. I
That's-
mean, how many punters are in? I think there's one.
Buddy Guy or Ray Guy? Ray Guy.
Ray Guy. I think it's Ray Guy. I think he's the only punter.
I
in the
think
Hall
he's
of Fame.
the only. He was the first one to go in. and I
Did
think he's
Shane
the
not
only
get
one.
in?
No,
Is Shane
he has
not
not gotten in.
Shane Leckler? Nuh-uh.
He should be. Jesus.
No, but
I mean, if you're gonna put
Ray Guy's
a
the
punter,
only one.
you're gonna put a punter in the Hall of Fame, it's got to be Pat McAfee.
I'd say
No.
it's Shane Leckler. I love Pat.
Yes,
Pat's amazing, but
No.
it
Pat
should be
did
Shane
everything.
Leckler.
I mean, the dude held, he punted, he kicked off, he tackled,
What record books
he
is he
kicked
in?
field goals. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does. It's
I
the
think he's
Hall of
one of-
Fame.
What
One of the few
record?
players ever
What
kicked-
record is Jan Stenerud in?
I don't know, but he
got
only
in
kicker
because
in
of
with-
his
yeah.
time frame.
But Pat McAfee is only famous because of his podcast. Let's all face the
No,
reality.
Pat McAfee was a legend before. I mean, you remember when he just destroyed Tristan Holiday on the sidelines? He did that shit all the time.
Right, and he was a mouth. That was his thing. Was he was a mouth.
He was a
Right.
huge
Always
man. He had a big
Right.
leg, and he
Right.
did successfully kick an onside kick to himself.
Correct.
Right,
Also
that is
correct.
true. But no, not Hall of Fame material.
But no, it should be Shane. Shane should be in there if he's not in there.
Janikowski should be in the Hall of Fame for partying.
Oh yeah,
That
Yeah.
man is an embarrassment to fat Polacks everywhere, and I should know because I am one.
but he's the fattest Polak
Yes.
in the NFL.
Correct.
He
great at
partied every day.
All the
Just
time.
Just
All
showed
the
up,
time.
hung over his
He-
fuck.
He took that Florida State lifestyle into Oakland and just ran roughshod.
Like I said, I don't really like the Raiders all that much, but holy shit, that guy deserves to be in the
I
Hall
hate
of
it.
Fame.
No.
Just
To hell with
he's
him.
so funny.
He's a Raider. To hell with him. Go to hell.
I think he
don't
should get
care.
it. By the way, how is Jason Elam not in the Hall of Fame?
They're kickers.
I know, but he.
You've
definitely
seen the
deserves
list of
it.
who's in. I mean, where's Ali Haji Sheik? where's Raphael Septien? Where's Rich Carlos? I mean, come on.
What are the names of the three fucking brothers who kicked forever?
The Grammaticas.
The Grammaticas.
The
Why aren't any of
Grammaticas.
them in the hall?
Right.
To be honest, they all kind of shortened their careers.
Yeah,
as
they were all short.
Americans.
You're right. There was Automatica,
But Gary
Grammatica,
Anderson deserves to be in there.
Celebratica, Grammatica. Remember he was
Hamstring
jumping all over the
celebrating, yeah.
field and ripped his knee up
Ripped
because
his
I hit a
ACL.
field goal. Ah, my leg. Celebratica.
Shit.
Right. Yeah, the Grammatica
Celebratica.
brothers. Yeah, Celebratica. All right. That's enough kicker talk
That's
for one
disappointing.
podcast.
There should be more kickers
That
in
was
there.
a
and
lot more
Sebastian
No,
kickers
there
on
Gordon
should not. There absolutely should
Stop.
not be more
Can we move
kickers.
on from kicker top?
Okay.
We're done with
Quarter-
kicker talk.
Quarterback carousel
Yeah.
news. So it appears that Derek Carr definitely is going to be on the move. He
Definitely.
had a visit in New Orleans.
Two of them.
Could be a possible move there. What do you guys
Well,
think?
He's been there
Seemingly-
twice.
And seemingly that's the only team that both him and the Raiders have approved at this point. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I still have Martin Grammatica jumping around in my head.
Yes. Well, we
'Cause it
can
wasn't-
kind of relate it back to his old team.
Jump,
Jump,
For quarterback.
jump, shred. Oh, I
Jump,
hear a
jump,
field goal.
rip.
Rip. Bill Martin, and I don't remember the other one. The other one only played for a couple of years. All right. In other quarterback moving around news, there could be an Aaron Rodgers thing, but he's locked himself in a cave for 4 days with no light, no sound, and only
Isn't that how
getting.
people go crazy in solitary confinement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is the guy who greased up his butthole last year.
Correct.
Yeah.
Hey,
So-
apparently that was a necessary endeavor based
I
on what
mean,
he was doing.
There are times and places for greasing up your butthole, but with ghee butter so that you can shit and like cleanse yourself out is not really one of them that you should.
That
be
seems like one of the most
engaging in.
important times to grease up your butthole. If you know you're going to be in a diuretic state for that long, I'd say grease it away. Make sure.
Your logic, while
Yeah.
while very sound, is completely fucked. While very sound is
If
completely
I knew I was
fucked.
having diarrhea for a week, I might throw some Vaseline on there too. Just to
We're supposed to talk about sports.
I still think I think a great spot for Derek Carr to land. I think still Houston is a great opportunity for him. They need a quarterback. It's a storyline you
need
can't
everything
write anywhere
else.
else. Right. But they wouldn't have to give up a whole lot. I mean, they've already got some draft capital that they can use to get rid of him because of the Deshaun Watson trade.
Based on rumor, the minimum is a 3rd-round pick.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
That's zero.
That's
I would do that today.
Yeah, absolutely would do that today if I was Houston.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, he gets to choose where he goes if he
Correct.
goes anywhere.
Right.
The only option they have is to cut him or let him take a trade he wants.
And that's the
Right.
thing is that the other part of that's super interesting is I think because of the way the dynamic of the contract is, it may come down to a cut. And then he can go wherever the hell he wants, right? I mean, he's got 6 or 4 weeks, right, until the beginning of the beginning of the league year. So that's absolutely a possibility.
And $30 million cap hit if they cut him or something like that.
Something like that.
They don't care. He's
Plus
gone.
all the money that they owe him.
If they trade him, they take the cap hit.
I guess, but that's for 1 year. I think it's more if he gets cut.
Because of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, if they offload him for a 3rd, I'll be stunned.
Go ahead, for them getting that much, or for them?
I think that's not enough.
Oh yeah, that's what
I think that's not enough. He's a legitimate franchise quarterback who is stuck in a shitty situation. He got Josh McDaniels. We saw it happen here, right? He just runs off whoever's in town and brings in his guy.
I still think he's a little bit of a crybaby, but I don't doubt his skill.
I don't know. His mascara never runs.
Did against Denver in 2015. Fucking whiner.
You sure that wasn't Paxton Lynch?
Yeah.
No, you could hear him.
That was also the Raiders, by the way.
Yeah. No, he was legitimately the reason I found out he was a crybaby is you could literally hear him crying and screaming on the sideline during that game.
Well, he cried in 2 press conferences this year. I mean, normalized
and his mascara never ran.
I know, man. Someone's got to get on that contract because I don't think L'Oreal's going to get on it.
Dude, maybe it's Maybelline.
Maybe he's born with it.
But the indicators seem to be the Saints currently.
Right. And that's not a bad landing spot. I mean, that's an improvement for them.
Yeah. And then the Rodgers thing is and once he's out of his cave, is he basically he's staying where he is or he's going to the Jets? Is where
I think that's there's 3 options there, right? Either he's done, he stays, or he goes to New York. And God, please let him go to New York. We'll have
I want it to happen.
Hours of content.
I want this.
That's the thing.
If
he goes to New York,
I want this to happen so badly.
It screws over Jimmy because I think that's where Jimmy should go.
Jimmy's going to the Raiders.
I think he should go to the Jets. I like him too much to put him in the Raiders.
Yeah, but he's Josh's boy.
Yeah, that's Josh's boy.
That's Josh's boy.
That's the new That's the new what's Matt Castle.
Yep. Yeah, it's
Josh's
Josh's
what
boy.
A tragic story that was.
All right.
It's Josh's guy.
Yep, exactly. All right. All right, that's enough
about football.
Yes, we're going to stop talking about football now because we're an hour and 3 minutes in, and we still have 2 other sports to get at, and one of them's got a bunch of news. God damn it!
Yeah,
fuck done. Let's
no shit. Right. So let's talk about the NBA, and before we get into trade deadline news, gentlemen, we do have to discuss, yes, our own Denver Nuggets. Tonight's game notwithstanding, they lost by 11 points to the Orlando Magic, but Joker is on just an amazing run. In his last 12 games, he's got 9 triple doubles. He's got 18 for the year. The man is 27 years old and is number 6 on the list of triple doubles. He could very well, by the end of his career, because his game will not age. This is not a guy who relies on his athleticism to play the game. This is a guy who relies on his mind to play the game. And he could very well be the triple-double king when it's all said and done. He's number 6.
Yeah, these are not like Westbrook or Harden triple-doubles where it's I'm doing everything myself because I need to play.
Right.
Essentially.
Slash
Yeah.
his other players are letting him do it so that he can get the stats.
Correct. He's not a
So
stat
in Westbrook's
compiler. It
case-
all comes.
Yeah.
It-
No, this is a legit number one on this team that just facilitates the game.
Right.
Oh,
and he had a
100%.
triple-double in the first half against Minnesota. So
That was a beatdown, though. Holy crap.
well, and we knew that was coming, right? So they
Yeah.
went to Minnesota and played a game 22 hours after their game previous in New Orleans. And Malone sat everybody and said, "We're not doing this." He was pissed about it. It's stupid. The league minimum is 22 hours, and they made them go from New Orleans to Minnesota to play 22 hours later. Turn around a couple days after that, Minnesota comes to Denver, and they get rolled out of the building by virtue of a 36-2 run. And Joker has a triple-double in the first half.
Yeah, that was embarrassing.
Minnesota's not good.
No, but
Oh,
they
we'll
are
talk about that in
professional
a minute.
basketball. There are professional basketball players, right? So you
Yeah.
don't normally get blown out like that.
No,
Right?
not
They
like
lost by
that.
35.
They're not good.
They lost by 35 points. This
Yeah, no, I
wasn't.
get it.
This wasn't Duke playing the Little Sisters of the Poor.
No,
These
I get what you're saying.
Right.
The team is not very good, and I get that the Nuggets are very good, but Minnesota's just awful.
Well, the funny thing is the comeback the next day with it was the next day with the Wolves against the Jazz. They ended up doing the same thing to the Jazz,
Yeah.
where they
Sure.
just destroyed them by 30.
Mhm.
I don't understand the Utah Jazz.
Yeah,
We'll talk about that
Don't
here in a second.
understand
we'll
the
talk about
Utah
that in a
Jazz.
minute. Yeah,
We'll talk about that in a minute. We would be remiss in talking about the NBA without also touching on the biggest news of the week and very most likely the biggest news of the season. LeBron James is the leading scorer in the history of the NBA by virtue of an 18-foot turnaround fadeaway jumper and past Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on the floor at the Forum in Los Angeles. Gentlemen, if you would, just a moment to reflect on the career and the achievement of one LeBron James.
all respect to LeBron. At the very least, a top 3 all-time player. I think at this point, it'd be hard to fight against that. He had the longevity, and he played a shitload of minutes. And
I have a problem. Did you say that he was playing at the Forum?
Yeah, whatever they call it now.
It hasn't been the
This-
Forum in like 20 years.
Yeah, whatever.
he's old.
It was
That's
the Staples
super
Center until
Okay,
like 2 years ago, and now it's the
it's-
Crypto.com Center.
Whatever. It's
It hasn't been the
Forum.
Forum in fucking since I was
Far,
wee.
far as
That's
I'm
what-
concerned, the Chargers still play at the Murph. So
I still
Oh,
call it
okay.
the
This
Staples
goes back
Center.
to me saying that they're the Los Angeles Raiders, right? And the
Right,
San Diego
yeah.
Chargers.
right.
Apparently that's frowned upon in this establishment. But
Oh no, it's the San Diego Chargers.
They're still the San Diego Chargers. I'm with
no,
you.
I
on
know,
that.
but you make fun of me when I do that. You're like, I get grumbly and stuff, but
We'll
you
call
know,
me
you call it
Oakland
the
Raiders.
No
Forum,
one
and that's
calls them
all right.
the LA Raiders. Come on. That's
I
just
do.
I
I
call them the
do.
Oakland Raiders. Still, I
right.
still say
yeah.
Oakland.
They're still
San-
Oakland.
Angeles Raiders.
No, that's
Call them
just
the Los
dumb.
Angeles Raiders.
That's just
'Cause it-
stupid. Carry on.
Vain.
Okay.
Vain.
But yes, he
Debo.
had a long career. He did not have a lot of good
Won a
teams,
playoff
to be
game.
honest. And he was forced to play a lot of time and score a shitload of points, and that's what he did.
Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, he's a hell of a player. You know, his career is going to kind of go out not the way he intended. I think he really wanted to kind of, put a finishing career, like almost like a Kobe Bryant. I don't think anything like that is going to happen. Unfortunately, the Lakers are not getting any better, even though they've torn apart whatever they call their core now and rebuilt it. And again, we'll talk about that later. It's sad seeing LeBron kind of go out like this, where he can't carry a team anymore. Unfortunately, he just can't do it. So, but good for him. He's had a hell of a career, and he can still play for another 3 or 4 years, probably.
I think the difference is that LeBron was never able to carry a team.
I disagree with that.
I disagree with that a lot.
He is the preeminent scorer of all time and was able to
8 consecutive
at
NBA
will.
championships
In Cleveland.
Yeah, with most of those in Cleveland.
That team was dog shit.
Yeah.
You can't tell me he didn't fucking carry those teams to the championships.
All right, I'll give you that. So the early
he just
Cleveland
can't do it
years,
anymore.
The early Cleveland years, he did well. The Miami years, he was a part of a big three. The LA year was the bubble year. Went back to Cleveland, and he won in Cleveland, to his credit, but that also was a team that had Kyrie with a stable head on his shoulders, and one who's the white guy, the forward
Love.
that played there. Yeah.
Which is still not that would not be a big three. Kyrie's a big three now, not then.
Kyrie was a big three then. Kyrie was awesome.
Yeah,
then.
he was pretty good then.
Yeah, he just didn't have the mental whatever. We'll talk about here in a minute about Kyrie, but his screws were all tightened.
Yeah. What was his character that he made that he had the movie about that he was doing all the Sprite commercials?
Oh, Uncle something or other.
He wasn't that guy yet.
Right.
He was still a basketball player. Uncle Drew, that's what it was.
Yep.
He wasn't Uncle Drew yet. He was just a basketball player.
He was just a basketball player, and a very, very, very good one. And in Miami, he was surrounded by some really good talent. I mean, Chris Bosh.
A fading Chris Bosh and a fading Dwayne Wade.
Fading? You're out of your damn mind. Fading. No, absolutely not.
Fading.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
I will give you Dwayne Wade 100%.
Absolutely
was amazing still at that point, but Chris Bosh was already falling off his defense.
No, absolutely 100%. Not. I challenge you to go and prove that. Next week, you need to prove that
I'll
to
look
me.
up the stats.
I don't need to prove anything to you.
Yes, Chris Bosh was a fantastic player.
And I'd say on that Heat team that
especially that year that they won.
The Heat team that won the championship, I say, was more about Dwayne Wade than it was even LeBron.
That's correct.
Yeah, because Dwayne was fantastic. And
that was his team at that point.
Who hit the shot? That was Ray Allen. Ray Allen was on that team too, right? So
he was there for that one purpose of that.
Yeah, he was there to hit a shot.
Just hitting 3 points. Yeah.
Right. Good. That's fine. Have a role. I don't care. LeBron is
on that team. I give Ray Allen more credit than I give Chris Bosh.
I don't know if it's that much,
and you'd be wrong about that too. LeBron is
Nick Anderson on that team too.
Who knows? LeBron is the preeminent scorer of our time. Is he the greatest of all time? No, absolutely not. Because you can't line that career up against the Jordans, the Wilts, even the Kareems of the time. Kobe, right? It just why not?
Yeah.
Look at Jordan's all defensive players of the year. Look at Jordan's MVPs. Look at Jordan's 6-0 in the finals. Look at Wilt's record in the finals. Look at
4-11 and go to an NBA championship almost every single year of my entire career. Then go to 6 and win them.
Doesn't make you the greatest.
Because he got dismantled
doesn't
for 10
make
years before he won one.
Doesn't make you the greatest. Sorry. It's all about championship. It's about when you're talking about the greatest of all time, it boils down to rings. When we talk about the greatest quarterback of all time, who is it? It's Brady. He's got 7.
I don't agree.
He's got 7 and one with a different team.
Guess what? Wins are not quarterback stats.
Doesn't matter. He went to Tampa and won.
He also had a top 5 defense all 7 times that he won the Super Bowl.
Awesome. He's still the greatest quarterback of all time. And I hate Tom Brady. I hate him.
Jordan had players around him.
Don't get me started on that team. Don't get me started on that team. Because I was the biggest Bulls fan in the early 90s.
By themselves, but they were all-stars with him in the room.
What? Really? So what does that mean? He raised a rising tide lifts all boats. Jordan made them what they are. What did Scottie Pippen do when Jordan wasn't there? He
became an all-star.
He flaked out.
Nope, became an all-star.
No,
and was
he
traded
no,
away
when Jordan wasn't. I'm talking about what about the
because they didn't want to pay him his contract.
What about the 2 years when Jordan wasn't there between 93 and 95?
Oh, you mean when he was running away from his gambling issues?
Sure, fine, whatever. We're not talking about what happened off the court. We're talking about what happened on the court. What did Scottie Pippen do? He threw a fit on the sidelines. He threw a fit on the sidelines because the ball wasn't going to him in the playoffs because they wanted to get it to Tony Kukoc, and he sat down and didn't play.
Reasonably, they did. They needed to give him the ball.
Really?
Yes.
Did they? Tony Kukoc was a better shooter. The ball should have gone to Tony.
In his entire career, was he a better shooter than Scottie Pippen?
That year he was. He absolutely was.
Like you said, that's not a career. Okay.
That year he was. Does an all-time great. And Scottie Pippen is the most overrated Robin in the history of the NBA because he did jack squat. If a top 50 player in the NBA goes to any other team, does he make them a contender? Yes. Did Scottie Pippen make Portland a contender? No, he did not. Correct.
Jordan made the NBA championship 6 times and went 6-0. How many has LeBron gone to? Doesn't matter if he didn't win all of them because he went against some fucking teams when he went in there.
All right, so let me ask you this.
I'm going to go get myself a snack.
Okay.
Where does Jim Kelly rank in the list of all-time quarterbacks?
I mean, not top 10, but he also had an incredible running back for most of the time that they were.
My guy went to 4 straight.
In a weak AFC.
Doesn't matter. He went to 4 straight
and won 0 of them.
Correct. So to your point,
if you get there on his team,
when you're talking about the greatest of all times, it's all about who wins the game.
No,
Jordan is not. Yes, it is.
No,
it absolutely
is. You know
is.
how it's not? Because did he win a championship without Scottie? Did he? Did he win one championship without Scottie?
No.
No, he didn't. He got smoked in the playoffs by the Suns, by the Spurs, by the Hawks, by
Whoa. They beat the Suns. They only lost to the Pistons the first 2 years, and Scottie was on that damn team.
Sorry. They almost lost the Suns. My bad.
They beat the Suns. That was Charles Barkley's team, and that was 1993.
And they almost lost.
They still won. Did they not win?
If it wasn't some for iffy shit in that 5th game, they probably would have lost that series.
Come on. Give me a break.
And,
the starting 5 of that first 2 years, it's
take away the Suns.
Michael Jordan.
Go ahead. You go and take away the Suns.
The starting 5 those first 2 years, Michael, Scottie, Kerr, Bill Cartwright, Horace Grant.
Horace Grant's a really good.
He was a good forward. He wasn't a great forward, right?
No, okay.
And then you go in that second set, and they bring in Dennis Rodman, who was a bigger headache than he was worth.
Oh no, yes, you can't. Okay, you don't get. He was a headache, but he's not a bigger headache than he was worth. He came in, got his rebounds, got his defensive rebounds,
right,
and took over on defense a lot,
and disappeared for 5 games.
I mean, I don't care if he was out banging hookers till 7 a.m. He showed up at the game and did his job.
He didn't show up to the games. He was in Vegas. He was in Vegas. He disappeared. He disappeared. No, he did not. He absolutely did not play every game. He disappeared and went to Vegas.
In the championships.
Doesn't matter. He played. Yes, he needs a good NBA player.
All right.
You have to have good NBA players. You cannot tell me that Michael Jordan's not the greatest of all time. You can't.
I don't think he is.
No, you absolutely cannot.
I don't think he's a flat-out number 1. Just like I don't think that Tom Brady's a flat-out number 1.
We got to move on.
Care? He's the greatest West Coast quarterback ever. Good job. You threw 5-yard out routes and 5-yard screens and got 700 touchdowns. Good job. You also did it with a top 5 defense your entire career.
Well, we're just going to have to agree to disagree.
Jesus Christ.
That's what makes this thing great, is we can argue and disagree. And right, Mark, for once, you're not involved.
Talking about Kyrie, because we were talking about him a minute ago.
Yep.
And The big three is officially over.
Can we just call that the greatest failure of any big three experiment of all time?
I'd say it has to be
Kyrie,
right?
Harden, and KD.
Yeah. The James Harden thing is so fucking funny, and I think people are understating that a little bit right now. When James Harden shows up to camp 40 pounds overweight or whatever and demands a trade and then drops 40 pounds in like 5 days and is suddenly like in great shape. Like that whole disaster was crazy.
He dropped 25 because he's extra 15, but you know,
but still,
I see your point, right?
That whole thing was so funny.
That was so contrived and stupid. And I don't want to play in Houston anymore, man. And then he went to Brooklyn, and the biggest thing that happened the biggest thing that happened in Brooklyn was those three never could be healthy and on the floor at the same time, whether it be physically or mentally, right? So
I was gonna say Kyrie had a lot more going on.
I'm saying healthy in terms of the overall human being, right? And
we games for a full year, so
right. I mean we've had the conversation on this podcast several times about mental health and how that's super important. However,
Kyrie is not a mental health like me guy. Kyrie is a mental health like fucking Terrell Owens guy. He is a psychopath.
No, he is
a Kanye West. He is a Kanye West psychopath.
In the marathon of head cases, he has blown past Terrell Owens.
So he's Antonio Brown.
Miles to go. Yeah,
showed up to the game.
Yeah, without the abuse and the illegal shit, that's Kyrie for sure.
Kyrie, and we don't know that he doesn't. Yeah.
Well, in today's day and age, if he had, you would have heard about it, right? He's just
probably.
It all started to go wrong with Kyrie. Obviously, I mentioned the Uncle Buck stuff or whatever the fuck his name, Uncle Tom.
Uncle Drew.
What?
I know. I said that.
Uncle Buck is awesome.
What? I'm taking that out in post for sure. I'm gonna find a beep and I'm beeping that out.
Anyways,
saying that,
but it's just funny because it's a flat earther I'm calling Uncle Tom. So, anyways, it's not a black thing. It's just a flat earther and Uncle Tom. It's great.
You can't say that,
dude.
He's
get off it.
Too much.
Just get off it. Just get off. You can say flat earther and Uncle Drew. That's all you got.
He ran into a mile-long rap sheet of stupid decisions over the last couple of years.
But
that's absolutely
obviously Kevin Durant cannot carry an entire team.
No.
Someone's calling you out.
Who is it?
I don't know.
That would be my wife, I'm assuming, because she ended up fucker. It ended with fucker. It's probably Stan.
It's 100% Stan.
But let's get back on topic. Yeah, Kyrie, KD, and
that's Stephanie for sure. There you go.
That's Stan.
Oh crap! Right. Brain fart. Kyrie, KD, and
James Harden.
James Harden. Thank you.
Right.
It's got to be up there as one of the worst flops in.
That is the worst flop I think that we've seen in the last 20 years in terms of putting a super team together, because that's the way the NBA's been going, right? It's been all about. It really started with, and I don't want to reopen the can of worms, but it started with LeBron going to Miami and putting that team together in the super team, and everyone thought that was the way you had to go. And
I'd say it started with the Celtics about 70 years ago.
They had it though. It wasn't like they had that free agency bit and they could put it together. They drafted.
I guess that's true.
Team.
Yeah.
They drafted that team. And
the Celtics team. The Celtics team before LeBron had that was a pretty good big three too.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. With Paul
Ray Allen,
Price,
and Ray Allen,
and sometimes Rondo
and KG. KG was the third. You're right.
KG was the guy.
Yeah, KG was a dog. Right. KG was.
He's my boy.
Yeah, he was something else.
I love the Paul Pierce bits.
Minus the Raptor
in a wheelchair leaving and then comes back and hits the game-winning three. Remember that whole
season? Oh yeah,
so great. Those Celtics teams were so much fun.
Right. So you've got
Raptors and Bucks. It's basically been whoever has the most talent wins.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Correct. Now you've got this trade that they ship Kyrie off. He goes to Dallas. Dallas sends a couple of pieces, including Spencer Dinwiddie. I think that Dallas made a desperation move here to try to go all in on making a run in a very stacked division or a very stacked conference. They're going to miss Spencer Dinwiddie in a way I don't think that they realize. That man can play some ball and was extremely important in their win tonight. They came from behind against Chicago, and he played very well. And I'm not just saying it because he's a buff, because he went to the University of Colorado. Spencer Dinwiddie can play, and that guy can play really well.
Yeah,
and
he's a good player.
And he's a glue guy, right? Yeah. So you trade a glue guy. And I was going to say you trade a glue guy away for a headache in the locker room. This is Mark Cuban.
This 100%. You stole my words. That was going to be what I was going to say. This is 100% got Mark Cuban written all over it.
This is Mark Cuban
splash play. Yeah.
Splash play, getting desperate and not really looking at long term and thinking maybe they had a chance if they could get Kyrie in the building. I think they're going to regret it 100%. What do you guys think?
This is Cuban playing Jerry Jones at its
Well,
finest.
and
That's exactly what I thought.
how can you not? I mean, the Nets are obviously blowing shit up, very evidently. But, I mean,
More on that in a minute.
That's not Dallas. I mean, it's not a terrible move by Dallas. They have the space. They have the. It seems weird to do it now. That's the thing. Like, why not do that at the beginning of the season?
It wasn't. You couldn't make that splash at the beginning of the season. I mean, of the
But it's not
major
gonna have the impact that it would have.
right. Well, I mean, who would they get?
Kyrie,
at the beginning of the
Kyrie
season?
didn't
Who was
want
available
out at that point?
Right. Who was
I think
available at the
he did.
beginning of
He
the
was
season?
not happy with the Nets even last year.
He didn't make
No,
the
but-
demand until 2 weeks ago.
Right,
True.
right. He officially wanted out 2 weeks ago. Before that,
yeah.
they were putting up with all of his bullshit.
No, but as you guys are saying, like, what is Dallas going to do with this? I mean, they got
It's Cuban.
Kyrie, which is good, and Markieff Morris, which isn't terrible. But what are you going to build on here? What the fuck do they have besides Luka?
They have Luka.
Late game,
I know, but
skinny
you
Luka.
think Luka plus Kyrie is championship?
That's what he's thinking.
That's what
It
he's
has to be.
thinking.
You don't make that move unless that's exactly what you're thinking.
I'm wondering if that was that. You know what makes me wonder? Since he's such a player-driven owner, I wonder if that was a Luka thing. Said, go out and get me a number 2. This is bullshit.
And I wonder if it's not a play for this year, if it's more of a play for next year.
That's what I'm thinking it is.
Give
When they
them a
can get
little
him
bit of time to
installed.
glue.
Get him installed in the offense a little more.
If that's what they're thinking, then I am of the mind that this is along the lines of bring that head case in, I can fix him. And we've seen how that doesn't work in almost every situation, right? How did it work with Antonio Brown? Bring him in,
Clippers
with Kawhi. Bring him in, I can fix him. With Antonio Brown, bring him in, I can fix him.
There have been a few. Randy Moss was a good one who got kind of turned around in New England. I would also put Corey Dillon on that list as well. Corey Dillon was a fucking giant jackass in Cincinnati and then goes to New England and he's a saint at that point and helped him win a championship.
Belichick.
Yeah, that's.
Do they have the coaching
but it's
staff
still the
to do
same
that in
thing.
Dallas?
So you're talking about
He also had a player that killed somebody, several somebodies.
True. Which, if he hadn't done that, would have been the best tight end duo in NFL history.
Right. I think those are two totally separate things, and I don't think you can add that into.
And the first of those murders was definitely before he got to New England. So,
right. I don't think you can.
Why?
Why?
It's
Because
an
he
exception that proves the rules, right?
He wasn't a nationally known douchebag before he got there.
Corey Dillon was.
yes,
I'm
he
not
was.
talking about Corey Dillon. I'm talking about
Antonio
Hernandez.
Brown was.
No,
well,
I'm talking about Hernandez.
No,
Hernandez
you're not.
Randy Moss was.
not. Randy Moss was not. He was not
Yes,
a
he
known
was.
douchebag. He was a wide
He was a
receiver
diva.
diva. He was a diva,
Which
but wide
is
receivers
another
are
word
divas.
for douchebag.
No, it's
Okay.
not.
Okay, so
No,
here's the
it's
thing.
We're getting
absolutely
way off
not.
track. I'm not
I'm
arguing
actually not
about dumb
debating-
stuff anymore.
I'm not debating you on that, Mark. Actually, I agree with you 100%. He's
No,
the
I'm
exception that
not
proves the
debating
rule.
dumb stuff anymore. We're getting
Oh, no.
so off track on this stuff.
But you're not
We're-
wrong. He went to a system where Belichick is
Yeah.
the general. You
Correct,
do exactly what he
Right.
says, or he
Correct.
will cut you
Correct.
immediately.
But you can't say it never works. That's all I
Okay,
was
so
saying.
I'll
Anyways,
give you
go
that.
on.
I'll give you that. Going into New England is probably, and going into New England with Belichick and Brady that's the exception to the rule. So
Yeah, but
what
do we have-
happens? What
Go ahead,
happens when these guys go other places? What happened to Antonio Brown when he left and went to
Apparently
Tampa?
slept on Tom Brady's
know.
couch and started diddling his wife, according to what he
Correct.
said.
So
What happened
remember,
when he?
Antonio Brown went from Pittsburgh to Oakland.
Called the guy a cracker, got fired.
And then went to Tampa after that.
Right, and then what did he do there?
Won a Super Bowl.
Flamed out spectacularly.
He won a
On
Super
the-
Bowl before he flamed
After he
out.
won a
Flamed
Super
out.
Bowl.
Flamed out spectacularly.
Tom successfully
after-
kept him together for 1 year.
For 1 year.
Okay, so for
Yeah.
1 year. Okay, great. I'll give you that. He
Yeah.
did great for a year. And then
But
what
anyways,
did he do?
we're talking
Took
about
his
football
pads
again. We
off
should be
and
talking about
jumping jacks in
Kyrie
the
Irving.
Jet sideline.
Yeah,
But
so
does-
we're going to be
here's
talking
the
about
question
Michael
on that,
Jordan
though.
again here in a minute. Jesus Christ, can we stay on task?
Does Dallas
This is a
have the
3-hour
coaching-
podcast in the making.
Yeah, Mark telling us to stay on task is like the greatest irony we've ever had on this podcast. This is,
But in this situation, holy shit!
I know. I'm just saying this is awesome.
Do the Mavericks have the staff to keep Kyrie happy?
No,
I mean, Des Bryant's handlers are probably still running around in Dallas somewhere.
Would be weird if they brought them onto the Mavericks, but if they do that, good for them, I guess.
Just saying, they're local.
yeah, they can't keep the lid on that thing forever. He's going to go Vesuvius at some point. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's
And
going
then
to
the
happen.
second, obviously, big one was
We've talked about,
KD.
yeah.
Right.
KD
So,
trade.
and then
KD is
the
huge.
KD trade and really the two trades together upset the balance of power in the Western Conference. Whether
the
or not
KD
you
trade
believe.
upset me personally. So
Go ahead. Why? Carry on, my
Yeah, go on.
did he
co-brother-in-law.
not
Yeah.
upset you personally? The team that he's going to, that is one of those teams that is kind of one piece away from being a championship team.
And they have that piece now.
They have a piece.
They already had the other pieces. That's the problem.
Well,
Yeah.
can they stay healthy?
Pretty
And
good
KD,
team.
can KD stay healthy? That's the biggest problem with KD.
True. I will give you that.
There had to have been a part of you, Matt, at some point when you saw that your heart sank because somebody is going to be a giant Phoenix Suns fan for the rest of the year.
Oh, there's gonna be a bunch of teams.
You know
Oh,
exactly who I'm talking about.
I'm going to punch Suns and 4 guy right in the face. All right.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
all right.
No,
so
I'm not
as
talking.
it
Yeah,
stands-
Suns
Oh, I
and
know.
4
I
people.
know.
But you know what's kind of sad about that? They legitimately had built up a fan base based on what Ayton and Booker were doing.
Mhm.
So now they're just getting extra.
Yeah, they're getting better, and they're going to be very dangerous. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And the Suns are
We have
currently
somebody
sixth.
who is. We have people in Phoenix who don't care about basketball and suddenly posted about basketball today.
Oh, God.
That's what we're talking about.
Right.
I'll tell you about it off air.
All right. That's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
But
right.
that's why I said that. That's why it hurts me.
Right. So here's the thing: the Nuggets are 8.5 games, and I haven't seen the results of the rest of the schedule today. But going into today, there were 8.5 games ahead of the Suns, with 26 games left going into today. So I don't think they're a menace to, or in a danger to Denver's position at the top of the conference. However,
No, but the second that news hit, it was everyone was
course.
saying, "Oh,
Right.
the Nuggets are in trouble
Right.
now."
well, and Vegas reflected it, right? As soon as all the trades came out, the Nuggets went from the favorite to win it all to the 4th or 5th favorite, depending on which book you were looking at.
And that's
I
based
think a
around
lot of
the
that
fact
was,
that
and I think that's not necessarily based around the Sharps. I think that's based around the money that came in, right? I think that's, oh my God, I got to bet this because now we have KD and now we've
How much
got,
of that was the fact? Hold on a second. How much of that do you think is the fact that the entire sports world is in Phoenix right now? And when that news dropped, they were all like, "Holy fuck!" Like if that dropped and it was just like,
I think that's a
Tuesday,
very
this is-
salient point.
I think
That's a very,
there's a
very
lot.
salient
There's a
point.
lot of money in Scottsdale right now.
Oh
There's
yeah,
Right.
a fuck ton
Glendale.
of money down there.
They're all in Glendale.
Scottsdale, Glendale. It's all they're all down there in the Phoenix area.
some
Right.
city built into a desert that doesn't
Right.
need to be there. Yeah,
Yes,
Right.
North Hell.
I
There's
think
a
that
lot of money down there.
right. KD in Phoenix makes them very dangerous. The man is walking in the door 25 points a game if he plays. This is
If
not
he
the
plays.
KD. This is not the KD that won the championship with
that
Golden
took over
State.
the championship with Golden
Right.
State.
This is not that guy. Right. He's older. I think he's 34 now, 33, 34.
And you can legitimately say that KD won them that championship. If KD wasn't
sure.
there, if
Absolutely.
KD wasn't there, that was LeBron's championship.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because that was Steph at his prime. That was Clay at his prime, Draymond at his prime. And then you added KD. Jesus, no one's going to beat that team that year.
Don't
That's
forget
just
the
not gonna
MVP, Iguodala.
Don't get me started on Iguodala.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
You've
But
already
yes,
done that bit.
This
Yeah,
is an older KD.
It's an older team. The only one I think that's under 30 is Devin Booker.
How old is Ayton?
I wouldn't consider Ayton a top 3 guy, no matter what team
On that
he was
team,
on.
he is.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Now it's CP, Booker, and KD.
I guess that's true with Chris Paul
Right.
in there. Yeah.
Right? He's not that guy. The other trade news we need to talk about, the Nuggets made a couple of moves. In essence, at the end of the day, what they did is they shipped Bones Highland and a number 2 and got Thomas Bryant back from the Lakers. Gentlemen, I think that the Nuggets got much better here, especially offensively, and removed a bit of a headache from the locker room. Thomas Bryant is a 26-year-old, 7-foot offensive center. Granted, doesn't play a whole lot of defense, but the guy scores in reserve role, 12 points a game. Definitely outscores DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre kind of gives you that offense defense sort of substitution that you might be able to do. Bryant, I think, could play the 4 and give more of a Twin Towers kind of look if you have Joker and Bryant on the floor at the same time. The most intriguing thing about this trade, guys, and I'll kick it over to you, Mark, to start. Thomas Bryant's 40% from the 3-point line as a 7-footer. I mean, this guy can play.
Yeah, it's a great move. Thomas Bryant's also. I was really surprised by this move because the Lakers really like that guy like a lot, and he's really been entrenched into their system, and like he's a fan favorite too. For them to give that piece up is a really big deal, especially to the Nuggets, who are sort of in division. They play together a lot. That is a huge move. The Bones Highland thing, everyone's going to say that he straightened up the last few games and he was playing nice. I think he was playing nice because he was told to, so he could get the trade.
So they could get the trade.
He wants to be a guy on a team, or one of the guys. And unfortunately, in this situation, being a young player, Michael Malone hates young players. And so he just doesn't develop rookies. It's just not his thing. He just wants to, teach team ball and do that thing. But it's removing a distraction that I think was necessary. I get Bones was a fan favorite around here, but he ultimately was a headache to that team.
Well, and here's the unfortunate thing: he was a good player here, and he was a good. What should we call him?
Fan favorite.
he was a fan favorite, and he was a good role player most of the time. He had his kind of identity with the team. And unfortunately for him, I think this move is not going to be beneficial to him. Maybe the payday will come, but I don't think him moving on is actually going to help him be the guy.
He would have probably developed a lot more if he'd have stayed. I don't know that what he's got available to him in terms of the players around him is going to help him grow when he goes to LA. And now that he's gone to LA, Sarah and I were talking about this earlier, and young players in the NBA take typically 2 to 3 years to figure out how to actually play. I mean, you've got your exceptions, right? You've got your absolute monster studs who can figure out right away if they can stay healthy. And Bones wasn't an absolute monster stud walking in the door. And the problem is that a lot of these kids coming out of college, coming out of whatever situation they're in, they were in that AAU, NCAA kind of environment where they're told, you're great, you're awesome, you can do whatever you want, it's fine, you can walk into the league, you're going to be great when you get there. And he hadn't quite figured out how not to be streaky. And in order to be a great player in the NBA, you have to be not streaky, you have to be consistent. And he was not consistent. So what does Michael Malone do, as most veteran coaches in the NBA do, because it's all about wins, not development. It's about, I need to put the best 5 on the floor. They're going to play consistently. And Bones wasn't consistent. He's a streaky shooter. And the man's got talent pouring out of his ears. And I loved the pick when they brought him in. I loved him all the way up until the point where they traded him, and now he can go fuck himself because he's playing for somebody else. But the man is clearly a talented scorer. He's not a consistent scorer. And he couldn't put the two together to figure out, how do I be consistent and then get time on the floor? It was, I'm going to get time on the floor and then I'll be consistent. It doesn't work that way. That's not how the NBA works.
Has gone down this year,
right.
Unfortunately.
He's a 40% from the field shooter. Just from the field. That's not from 3. That's from everywhere. And that's his career. And this year he was sub 40%. You can't be a consistent player in this league and be shooting less than 40% from the field. And if he would have managed to figure out how to get his own head in line, he'd still be here. But unfortunately, because he's not mature enough to figure out how to do that, now he's somewhere else. And now we've got a guy who's a little bit older, who can play a couple of different positions. Granted, Thomas doesn't play great defense. We know that. He gives up almost 70% of the shots against him, but he's not going to be on the floor all the time. But he does give you that offense. He was not brought in for defense, right? So he's, like I said, he gives you that offense-defense switch that you can do depending on who you want on the floor. So if you've got DeAndre, he can play defense. You can swap him out for Bryant and play offense. I like the move, and I wish Bones all the best. I love the kid, right? I love his energy. I love his outside attitude. I don't know, based on everything we've heard, that what's happened in the locker room and his distraction, I don't love that, but I love the way he presents himself, and I love his energy when he actually gets on the court and he gets going. But this is a team that's got a chance to go all the way, and they need to make the moves to go all the way. This was a move to do that.
Do you think legitimately that Highland becomes any more than a glorified 6th with LA?
Probably not. Not this year. He could figure out. Here's the thing with Bones. Bones can score in bunches when he gets hot. If he figures out how to do that consistently, he could be a starting 2 anywhere. Absolutely anywhere. His talent is out of this world. But he can't do it on a day in, day out basis.
Oh, I see him as a Jamal Crawford. Basically. A 6th man that gets hot every once in a while.
And you know what? That all is up here.
Mm-hmm.
That's all up here. If he figures that out, great. I wish him nothing but the best because, like I said, the kid's attitude from what he presents to the public is amazing. And when he gets hot, it's amazing.
True.
But he if he figures out how to do that night in and night out, he's going to be a stud. But he can't be on this team right now because this team's window's right now.
Oh, yeah. Huh. Those are the biggest moves.
Yep. Absolutely. Mark, you got anything to add there?
Nope.
Awesome. All right, let's move on to the NHL. The Avalanche currently 4th in the division. They lost tonight to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Sarah and I are actually going to go watch them on Tuesday, and they're going to play Tampa again at Ball Arena, which we're super excited about. But, guys, they're getting healthy-ish. They're still missing Makar. He didn't play tonight. But Byram,
head injury. He's still out.
Yeah, Byram's back. Nichushkin's back. And Landy, they have a stated plan for Landy to skate soon. So we may see him sooner rather than later. I think that's a really good thing. The thing about Byram here, Mark, and I'll start with you. He actually said, I'm just glad it wasn't my head. And he said it was a limb, and I can deal with that. Right. So Bo Byram is legitimately that number 2 defenseman that they needed here.
Yeah, agreed. I don't know what else to say that you want me to say there. You kind of took everything.
That's accurate.
Yeah, you said all the things.
It said all the things. All right. When do you think we're going to see Landy?
Sooner rather than later. Before the playoffs. I'd love, before the playoffs.
I'm thinking the last month before the playoffs, you'll finally get him on the ice.
Right. You think when he comes back, does he slide into 1C or 2C?
2.
I
said that last week.
Yeah,
I said that last week.
Just to get him, especially get him on return.
They need to mix up that second line.
Yeah.
It's getting pretty stagnant.
Unfortunately, yes.
Right. And I think when you do that, then you allow Newhook to slide back into 3. And he's been playing better. And Newey in that 3 with a little bit of more scoring punch, they get dangerous. I really think, guys.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, Georgie had a rough game today. And
that happens to him.
That's happened a couple times recently, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. That's the big difference between this year's team and last year's team is when Georgie gets down, the team doesn't really necessarily pick him back up this year. And a lot of that, I think, is because the captain is missing. So,
all that, yeah. And they also ran into the wall of Vasilevsky, as so many have.
Right. And watching that game tonight, they were trying to be a little bit precise and waiting for the perfect shot, which this team has done for decades. They try to rely on their talent a little bit and try to work around for the perfect shot instead of just putting pucks on net and working the screen game in front. And they just didn't do that tonight.
I mean, they still put up 30 shots.
But how were the shots, right?
Not great. But
right. It was trying to be too precise. And it had a lot of missed opportunities that weren't counted as shots. Just, missed to the upper right corner and then it goes past the net. That doesn't count as a shot, right? So it was one of those games. It's an 82-game season. Things like that are going to happen. I think that the Lightning were super excited to play Colorado in their barn because that was where they lost the Stanley Cup. There was a lot of things working against them. You don't have the best player on your team in the game, and that means a lot when you're missing 25 minutes of Makar, right? So, however, at the end of the day, McDermott got a fight, and he did beat the shit out of Maroon. So I'm good with it.
That was fun.
It was good. And Logan O'Connor got in a fight too. So let's just fight everyone. Okay. Mark, you got anything else in the NHL?
No, No, I think we just about covered all the stuff that we need to cover with the Avalanche. So
Yeah.
All right, very good. All right, before we move on to final thought, dipshits of the week, I have one. If you guys don't, I stumbled upon an ad, scrolling through whatever social media I was on, and let me tell you, if you are a vegetarian or a vegan, good for you. I mean, you make the choices that you wish. That's fine. However, if you're a vegetarian or a vegan and you're really missing spam.
Yeah.
Someone has come up with fake spam. It's called unmeat, and it's potted meat, plant-based. So it's truly goo in a can that you can treat like spam. And dipshit of the week is the person who came up with this, because I can't think of anyone who's a vegetarian or a vegan who actually misses spam.
Let's go ahead and be honest and say most meat eaters don't like spam.
Right?
Spam.
Unless you're in Hawaii. Hawaii loves their spam.
no, I don't mind a spam breakfast burrito every now and again.
Oh, I make spam sandwiches here with eggs and all that
It's
stuff.
not bad. Breakfast food, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not a giant fan of potted meat to begin with. There are some Hawaiian places around town. There's a place called Hangry Ohana's that's got a local chain around here in town that does a spam sushi that, it's musubi. Yep. Whoever called that out, thank you very much.
That would be Steph.
All right. Thank you,
That's
Steph.
one of her favorite things to eat on the planet.
Had that on occasion. But if I ever go vegan or vegetarian, I'm not going to be thinking about something to substitute for spam.
Yeah.
Plus, you'd have a lot of grills to get rid of.
Right.
Or you can grill up some cauliflower,
I mean, I barbecued tofu a couple of years ago. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
For
Yep.
Michaela?
Yep.
Okay. I appreciate your dipshit of the week, but I actually have one.
All right.
Yeah.
Fire away. Let's go.
Brett Favre.
Again?
What do you
now?
do now?
He has filed a defamation lawsuit against the Mississippi State Auditor, Pat McAfee, and Shannon Sharp.
Huh.
After he got caught stealing a bunch of welfare money.
Millions of dollars.
A volleyball court. So I don't think, he might have a little bit of a case, but I think for the most part, they have stayed away from directly accusing him of anything and kind of slipping in the allegedly enough to kind of make their point. So I don't know how much he's going to win here.
Yeah, it's hard when you go after someone who expresses an opinion, because an opinion can't be wrong. It's my opinion. Like, I think that Jordan's the greatest of all time. So if LeBron wanted to sue me, he couldn't, because it's my opinion.
For
I'm
fuck's
just
sake.
using that as an example. I'm not trying to start an argument. I'm just saying you can't.
Yeah. And specifically in Pat McAfee's case, I know for sure whenever they talked about it, he very vehemently used the word allegedly to cover himself legally.
Right. McAfee's a smart dude. Shannon Sharp is smarter. Right. And that guy doesn't do anything that's not.
No, he has no filter whatsoever.
No, he's got no filter, but everything that he does goes through a calculation. Right. So he's not going to say something that's going to get himself into trouble, because you can't get to where he's at doing what he's doing without doing it that way. Everything is a calculation.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. That's a dipshit move.
But
I agree.
Just wanted to throw that in.
Yep. Mark, you said you had one?
Yeah, I wanted to spend a little bit of time on this earlier, but you guys got into a fight about LeBron James and Michael Jordan.
True.
But
You're not wrong.
there is a report from the USA Today that came out yesterday. Actually, it was 2 days ago, that one Russell Wilson in the year 2020 he won the Walter Payton Man of the Year award, and somebody looked into his charities and where the money goes and found out that 22.3% of his money actually goes to charities, and the majority of it goes to two accountants.
And here's my question on that one.
Hold on, I'm not done yet.
Okay.
I'm not done yet.
Okay.
I'm not done yet. Because Nick and Bradley Chubb had a charity, and they had something like 97% of the money went to charities. Vaughn's Vision is in the 90%. You name them, they're all in the seven. There's not a charity that they had actually. I'll call them out. Jake Shapiro on denversports.com listed an article and listed all of these charities that were local and actually put the percentages on there. It's mind blowing that they're in the 70s and Russell's only getting 20 something percent to the charities. Something's wrong there. And yeah, maybe he doesn't know where the money is going, but that's still an issue. That's still a giant issue.
And that's what I was about to bring up. I'm wondering how much of that is due to him not paying attention more than him being a snake in any way. Just because
I don't care. I don't care if it's him being a snake or him not doing anything or not
he's
knowing
donated
anything.
a lot of his money to that foundation.
Right, but it's not going to the charities.
Well, the reason I say that specifically though, is like you're basically just cutting your own money down at that point. So
sort of, because he's just basically paying his accountants.
And that's the weird part is the accountants seem to be taking a lot. Yeah,
correct. They're taking, there's two guys that are each taking $250,000 salary
to work
every year,
like a day a week.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so Russell's got to come out and say something or do something. And maybe he doesn't know what's going on entirely, and it's these guys fumbling with money funnily, but he's still a dipshit for hiring those accountants and not seeing where his money is going.
There you go. You nailed it on the head. He's a dipshit because he wasn't paying attention at the very least.
At the very least, he's being ignorant with his money. At the most, he is just a fucking jackass.
Yeah, let's hope it's the.
I don't think your microphone's on, Matt.
Well, that's fun. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
No,
it was just very quiet.
Right. Very good.
I think it's actually coming through your computer, not your microphone.
Oh, so the microphone is. Oh, look at that. We have an issue.
You unplug it?
Yep. I leaned on the cord.
Okay.
Christ, Matt, no more beer.
I was leaning. All right, how's that? Can you hear me? Are we good?
We're in the middle. Oh my god.
There we go. Can you hear me? Are we good?
There we go.
All right.
Technical difficulties. We are
Drop
good.
the gain a little bit.
When you get into the realm of the nonprofit, there is a very gray area. The federal law requires if you have a nonprofit that gives money away, it only has to be 5% of the money that comes in.
Which is gross.
Yeah, that's gross, right? And I will tell you that having looked into and having lived the cancer kind of situation that we've had here in the last couple of years and looking into what happens in different nonprofits to support that kind of a situation, it's worse. I have a hard time singling them out, right? You're right. He should pay more attention. You're right. It could be better served to put money in different places. I'm not sure what the commenter is talking about, but we'll just
notoriously is under 20%.
Right. So I honestly have a hard time placing Russ firmly in this position because the report came out. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of places that do a lot better, right? And he could do better.
That's all I'm saying.
I will definitely agree with that. Yep, I'll definitely agree with that.
It's got to be fixed.
Yep. He could do better in terms of this foundation, but
there is no but. It's got to get fixed.
There's a but.
Other people are worse. That's your but.
Yes.
But other people are way better. What's your point?
In way more public.
I'm not comparing apples to. We're not comparing whatever. I'm not talking about charities in general. Russell Wilson, as compared to most NFL charitable organizations, is donating a third of the money that most of these places are donating. That's all I'm saying, and that's the only point that matters. Like, Russell Wilson's got to fix it. He's a dipshit for not wanting to fix it. That's all I got.
All right. Fair enough. All right. Final thoughts. Tank, what do you got? Shoot the socials.
You can find me on Tank Knox or Knox Nostalgic on everywhere, basically. Should be a good game this weekend. I'm actually kind of excited about it.
Tank, what are you doing for the Super Bowl?
I'm going to Mama's house and eating chicken wings and rooting on the Chiefs against my own fandom, unfortunately.
Ooh. Can't do it. All right, Mark, what do you got?
Can't wait to see some chicken wings get devoured by Frank and I on Sunday. And yeah, hopefully we get to actually watch the game and
We'll see.
there won't be too much children interaction so I can watch football.
I don't think we covered it yet, Mark. Who are you rooting for in the Super Bowl?
No, we didn't. I am rooting for Kansas City. I am absolutely rooting for Kansas City.
You're dead to me. All right.
I like the coach. I like the quarterback. I like the city. The fans are great. And my mother-in-law told me to.
And you're officially fired. You are fired.
All right. See ya.
All right. Make sure you catch us on all of the socials. You can find the Brothers Idiots, the Goons, as it were, on Facebook at My Brother's an Idiot. Our Twitter is at the Idiot Goons. If we decide to do anything on Twitch, it'll also be at the Idiot Goons. Mark's Twitter is at Poffeltime. My Twitter is at Puffalopagus. You can also find me on TikTok at King Goon Smoke. For Tank, Bungie, and the absent Muti, we love you, Muti, and Dipshit. And I was getting there. And Dipshit. This has been My Brother's an Idiot. We'll catch you in 2 weeks. We'll nerd out next week and then recap everything from our bets in about 13 days. We'll see you next time. This has been